trials course is split into sections, which in turn are divided into subsections. Marking is applied at the point when the car ceases forward movement. For instance, if the centre of the front wheel passes the 5 marker, the driver drops 4 points. But if he hits the 5 marker, he drops 5. If he clears the number 1 marker, he has, as they say, cleaned the section. The driver with the lowest overall total is the winner.
Here we are with Simon Durling, the team leader of the Southern team, in his SRB sporting trials car. And we're just going to ask him a few questions to see how the trials car works. What are these things here for, Simon?
These are individual brake levers that brake each rear wheel independently of the other.
And that enables you to get around the very tight corners and to also stop the wheel spinning.
That's correct.
And these are normally called fiddle brakes, is that right?
That's right.
Right. On the steering wheel here, I see you have a knob. Because otherwise, if you've got one pair of hands on the fiddle brakes and one hand on the wheel, you're not going to be able to work everything together because you're going to be short of a hand, aren't you? So if you could just show me how the knob works on the steering wheel, you just whiz the thing round. Here, you'll notice the tyres are on very low pressures. They can vary between ½ pound to 2½ pounds. And this enables the side of the tyre to give as much grip on the edges because they run on a normal type of road tyre as opposed to a town and country. Also, another facility that's fitted on this is what is known as a water valve. And this enables them to let the pressure out very quickly. It's just a convenience really, but it does help locate the tube inside the tyre. The tyres are bolted by bolts through the rim straight into the wall of the tyre, so that when the wheel spins, the tyre goes with it, and it will not allow the tyre to come off. Punctures are something they get occasionally, but it's not really a big problem, unless they're running extremely low pressures like ½ pound.
Now, before the event can get underway, the cars must be scrutineered by an RAC official to check that they're safe and also that they comply with the regulations governing this particular sport, wheelbase, tyre size, all that sort of thing. This rather interesting device is a Whirv, Don.
Which is a 750 engine special and has a notable exception in having 2 gearboxes. Here we see Brian Thornton in his hybrid. He is the captain of the Northern team.
And Martin Wright's Ibex, and he's representing the Southern team. Let's get underway with the event proper now, and the first one on the first hill is Alan Gisby representing the South. What can you tell me about this car?
This is a typical Southern car in so much as it's a bit of a special, and it's called an AEG. Like most of the cars, it has a very light engine at the front and the usual requirements, which are according to the RAC National Trials formula.
And he's going to clear that. Yes, he's cleared that comfortably. Hitting the bush does not matter. And following up, David Bastable from the north. And he's stopped very low down. Very low down. So that's first blood to the south. 1 to the south, 0 to the north. And this is Duncan Bastable, David's son. He's driving the same car. Let's see if he can do somewhat better than Dad.
Here David edges his way very carefully around the markers because he's got to get the car lined up to do the very steep ascent at the finish of this section. He takes it very gently and has a successful climb right to the top of the hill.
So he's clean, and Rod George therefore has to clean the hill so as not to drop a point for his team. This looks a bit of a Heath Robinson special.
Well, this is called a special. I think it was built by Rod George and has performed quite well over the last 12 months during the normal trial season.
Cooling fins on the carburettor there.
Yeah.
And nearly lost it there, but quite a nice trickle, a good rate of bounce to increase the grip, and the front wheel's bouncing away and they're through the top of the section, so no change in the score there. Now Alan Gisby again for the south on hill 2. A very little tricky point there. I believe he hit that marker, but the marshals don't seem to have seen it, and he's gone on through to clean the hill. Now David Bastable again for the north. Let's see if he can manoeuvre around this very tricky right-hand piece. No, he's hit the number 6 marker, and there's no way he's going to get away with that. So that's another point for the south. South 2, north 0.
Here we have Duncan Bastable, again in father's car, representing the north, but he doesn't quite get this right. He's got the 10 mark around the tree. Never mind, Duncan. We'll see how he goes on against his competitor, his opposite number, Rod George.
Rod coming now for the south, and a chance here for the south to go 3-0 up. Oh yes, very good, nicely through there, and he has no trouble once he's got over that climb in cleaning the rest of the hill.
Here we have Brian Thornton, the northern captain. Got a strong fight on his hands today with Simon Durling, but maybe Brian will do it. He cleaned that beautifully. All the control, all the delicate throttle control. Notice he's keeping his left fiddle on there so he can keep the car high and it doesn't slide down into the markers. That's it, he's clear.
And his opposite number, Simon Durling, captain of the southern team, needs to make a clean here to avoid losing a point. First part is reasonably simple. Bit of adverse camber there, Don. How do you cope with that?
Well, normally keeping the fiddle brake on the higher of the rear wheels. That stops the car sliding down too far.
And he fiddled his way beautifully through that left. Front wheel in the bush, but as I say, that doesn't matter. It's the posts we're trying to avoid, not the trees. And he's clean as well, which makes the score still 3 to the south, 0 to the north.
Here's Mark Sheldon, an up-and-coming northern driver. He's got his mother bouncing, and actually it used to be his mother's car. This is an SRB, and Mark has improved immensely this year and is one of the leading lights in the northern team.
Member of the Yorkshire Sports Car Club.
Beautiful climb there, very delicate.
So he's clean for the north. What can the south do about this?
This is Paul Lydiard in his PAL, which isn't a tin of dog meat. It's a very useful trials car. It has had several very good results again in the Southern Championship this year, and he's really giving Mark a bit of a battle. But I think he's going to manage this one quite easily. Yes, he's got it all together. There he goes, up to the top, and he's clean. Here's Robin Alexander driving X Factor, which has got an independent rear suspension and a transaxle, an extremely good motor car, and very, very light at the front. As you will see here, look, whoops, up he goes. Now, the answer to that now, the problem he's got to stop it going over backwards, is to get somebody to sit on the front. He managed here to pull one hill back against Chris Highwood, so it brought the score up to 3-1 for the south.
Now Peter Thorpe from the north.
Driving his Cap, which he and Max Brown brought between them very recently, and have certainly improved their performances. His opposite number today, which is a good climb there, Peter.
I noticed the gradient there as the car slips backwards. There's no way of holding it on the steep hill. Keith Minster.
Which has got an interesting car, because this has got a Datsun engine and performs extremely well. Again, he's clean, very good indeed. Nice climb.
So, and one more for the south, making the score 4-1. Commanding lead for the south, as Tony Legras from the south starts his climb.
And this car is one of the older cars in trialling. It's a Cannon, which at one time had to be the only car to have, because it was the only trials car produced by a gentleman in the south called Mike Cannon. And everybody used to use these, but now they've got a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit lighter.
Yes, I used to drive one of those, Don. I bought it it was in use as a lawnmower when I bought it, pulling somebody's gang mower around their lawn.
And it still looked like a lawnmower when you drove it.
That's a good clean there for Tony.
He really got the bit between his teeth there, went right out of the top. Here's his opposite number, Max Brown, again in the Cap Special. He is up against Tony, and believe me, he's going to have a bit of a problem today trying to stay with Legras.
Well, he's got to climb this and clean it to avoid dropping another point.
That's right, he's a little bit past 1 or 2 hills behind him now.
Now, he stopped there. Shouldn't he have been penalised for stopping at that point?
Not on the downhill section, because it's just a question of safety, really, so he can get the car lined up, and we don't want any accidents in this car.
He's going well, he's going well.
Yeah, he's
cleaned it, yes. Just
Beautiful
stop to the top there.
Tony Bristow now, getting the power on. A little bit too much power on, I think, Tony. Yep. He's just beginning to wonder where all the grip went.
That looks like a 6 or something like that. Look at the disappointment on his face. So can Stuart Butterfield from the north beat that? Yes, and he's comfortably passed to the north, picked back a point there. Well done to the north, making the score now 2-3. It's getting very exciting.
It's getting much closer. Here's Jeff Lawson with his new Tribex, a car he recently purchased. A very nice little motor car, handles beautifully. So does his passenger on it.
Is that a clean?
Yep, that's a clean.
Yes, a useful run there for the north, and it's now Ian Wright for the south.
Yes, I don't think he's not going to make it, and oh dear, his diff's gone. Yes, he's definitely in trouble now.
So that's a win for the north, and that equalises the scores with the south 3 and the north 3.
Brian, who are the star members of your team?
Well, I suppose it must be the constructor Stuart Butterfield and David Morris and Mark Sheldon seem to be doing quite well. I'm the captain. I'm supposed to be the best, but I'm losing at the moment, so I'm not doing too well.
I see. Right. Well, I don't think you do too badly usually, because you've won the Northern Championship and the Cumbrian Championship this year, haven't you?
I have, yes. I've had a lot of good luck, I think, and I just seem to have got my car going right.
And going right it is as we set off on the afternoon part of the contest, with Brian going very well there, coming into the tricky right-hander above that shrub. Has he stopped? No, not quite. He just caught it again. Just caught it there, and now on the adverse camber needs some left-hand fiddle to bring it round into the last little climb, and he cleaned that. So Simon Durling's got all on here to match the climb, to keep the south in contention. He's made light work of that coast round the shrub. The tree doesn't matter. Now left-hand fiddle again. Good shot of concentration there. And he makes light work of that, Don.
Well, Simon's very good. He's a very consistent driver and very, very tidy indeed. And just look at the way he goes through those gaps. There's not a lot to spare on each side. Beautiful climb, Simon.
So no change in the score then. 3 each. Now Simon takes the first time this time. They alternate, do they?
They do. On each hill they either go first or second, and it's Simon's turn to lead this time. And this is not an easy section, because you've got to get the car in the right angle. You're not allowed to loop outside the poles. You've got to keep it all together. You've got to get the forward momentum, not be too quick and not be too slow, because when you come to the end, you've got a straight blast. And he'll go up there as if he's just driving up a motorway. Look at that, straight out at the top, no problem.
Wonderful climb. And now the northern captain, Brian Thornton. Notice that we place as much emphasis on placing the car as sheer hill climbing ability.
Oh yes, it's an awful lot of control, an awful lot of expertise in this. Not only have you got the steering and the brakes to play with, you've also got the clutch and the throttle and everything else. You've got to get it all balanced. But I think Brian looks as if he might have a bit of a problem.
Look at that steering wheel.
Yeah, yes, he's looking a bit ropey there. It's gone
completely lost its mountings,
yep.
And he's given up that. He can't go any further with steering as bad as that. So the South now back in the lead, 4-3, and Brian's off to get his car repaired as David Morris for the North takes over.
David's been trialling for a long time. He recently, after 15 years, managed to win a trial for the first time in his career. But he's a very good driver, has learnt an awful lot, and on his day he's unbeatable.
So it takes you 15 years to become good enough to actually win a trial, does it?
Well, I was told the first 20 years were the hardest, but it didn't take quite that long. But close. Look at that.
It's a good climb.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
He's cleaned that for the North, so the North still in contention. Jerry Walters now for the South.
One of the leading lights in the Southern Championship, Jerry. He's quite a character, had a lot of experience, and drives this little motor car of his extremely well. And of course, he's on home ground today, so he's feeling quite happy, I think. He's got all his control. He's coming round the corner, down, quick blast up the other side.
Exdown, of course, is only a few miles from Brands Hatch. I wonder what the Formula 4 boys would think of this. Quite a different sport.
Well, they can hit things without trying.
So no change in the score there. Now Alan Wickham for the South.
This is an interesting little car. It's only got a 750 Renault Reliant engine in it, but it has the twin gearbox, the transaxle at the back and the gearbox at the front, and it gives Alan something like about 15 or 16 different ratios to choose from. What he hasn't got in power, he makes up for in the gear ratio. And on a day like today, it's very useful to have something which you can just trickle along very, very slowly and just steer it round the markers without having to worry too much about the grip.
And he's cleaned that, so the North have got to clean their hill to stay in contention with Tom Tyrer.
Tim Tyrer,
Sorry?
who is the only trials driver resident in Cheshire at the moment. And he, again, you know, this is a new car to Tim because he's just acquired this. He did a bit of a swap with Jeff Rawson. And he's still getting used to it, but, you know, it's all there. He'll get up there, I'm sure he will. Look at that. Yes, he's out at the top. A good close battle there between those two.
Fine, Klein, there's a car on fire there.
Yeah, it's gets quite warm, these cars, and this one's got a little bit warmer than most, but I don't think it'll be much of a problem.
Don't they have any cooling?
Well, they have an electric fan and a water pump, but that's all. What they really need now is a fire extinguisher, which we've got. I see. Let's put that out. Well, that's the excitement of the day, doesn't it?
Anyway, not too much damage seems to have been done there, so we can carry on with the event. And Robin Alexander again for the North. Getting very crucial as we come towards the end of this special North-South trial, and he's failed.
Yes, he's lost all grip there. He didn't quite have enough momentum as he came round the bend and just couldn't get up the bank. And here is his opposition, Chris Highwood. Now, he's gone extremely well all day. In fact, I think he finishes up with the lowest score. Just look at that. He's got so much control, this man. He really is fantastic.
So the best individual performance of the day, and he takes his car through to a very easy clean, takes a point off Alexander, and that makes the score 5-3 with only one pair to come, the two captains, headed by Simon Durling, so really they can't lose now.
No, it's a little bit of a golfing situation, you know, 2 up and 1 to play, and Simon's not going to make any mistakes. He's got it all together again, and although Brian's had a few problems, I still think Simon, in spite of Brian's problems, would have won today.
And Brian's had his car repaired, so the steering is in full action again. A little bit of a wobble still, but it's a lot better than the last time we saw him.
That's right. And he's trying hard. He's been consistent throughout the year, and he doesn't give up easily. He's not going to let anything get away from him. He's going to try and equal the score on this hill. He nearly made a mess of it then, but there we go. He's got a clean as well.
So the final result, a home win for the South, 5-3.
Well, I've won. You've won. Brian's had some problems, but I still just managed to beat him.
Jolly good. Brian, what went wrong today?
Well, to put it bluntly, my steering wheel fell off.
Well, I saw that fall off here.
I did manage to get it fastened on again, and it only really affected one hill, so even if I'd won that hill against Simon, he still would have won the match, so it didn't make any difference to the end result.
It's a very, very good way of having a trial. It makes you concentrate very hard all day.
From sporting trials in Kent, we're now off to Sweden.